Imagine for a moment that you are reading a fairy tale book. In these stories, there are princes, princesses, and grand castles. Everything looks perfect on the outside. The people smile, the weddings are beautiful, and the babies are born with great celebration. We are taught to believe that what we see with our own eyes is the truth. We trust that the history books are telling us the real story. But what if the story we were told was not the real one? What if behind the high stone walls of the palace, there was a secret so big it could change everything we know about the royal family? Sometimes, the things that look the most perfect are actually hiding the biggest cracks. For years, people have whispered about a mystery. They asked questions that were never answered. Now, it seems that the secrets are starting to spill out. We are about to look at a story that is very different from the one on the TV screens. This is a story about hidden truths, missing records, and a silence that is finally being broken. It seems very clear why she is acting this way. She's trying very hard to prove something to the news reporters and the main TV channels. She has to do this because people are starting to talk. For a long time, people just watched, but now they are asking questions. The media is starting to discuss a very strange idea. They are saying that the whole story of the birth might be made up. They are saying it is just a fiction coming from Meghan Markle. So she feels like she needs to put a message out there for all the people who do not believe her. She wants to show the haters that they are wrong. She's trying to say, look at me. It really is me having the baby. Can't you see? I am in the hospital and I am dancing. She's moving her body in a wild way that does not look very dignified. She's trying to show that she is real, but to many people, it just looks like she's trying too hard to make us believe her. We have to remember that she has a history with this kind of thing. People have said before that she knows how to use fake baby bumps. These are things you strap onto your stomach to make it look like you are pregnant when you are not. When you look closely at the video, there is something that does not look right. To my eyes, the shape of her stomach looks very strange. It does not look like a natural pregnancy shape. It looks like something is wrong with the way it sits on her body. I really believe that there is trouble coming for them. I think that she and Harry might break up within the next 12 months because this secret is too big to keep. There is a huge news story developing today. It is a story that has shocked people all over the world, but it is famous for all the wrong reasons. Meghan Markle thought she had finished with this problem. She believed she would finally stop the rumors. For a long time, people have guessed that she was wearing a moon bump, which is a fake belly. I believe these guesses are very accurate. This is incredibly important because of the rules of the royal family. If these children were not born from Meghan Markle's own body, then they cannot be prince or princess. They are not allowed to be in line to become the king or queen one day. We are talking about Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. If the rumors are true, they simply cannot be in the royal line of succession. Let us take a closer look at this video that everyone is talking about. This video has scared and upset a lot of people. It is shocking because when you look at Meghan, it seems quite clear that she is wearing some kind of device. It looks like a moon bump. The way she is moving is not normal for a woman who is about to have a baby. It is not a natural body position. It looks fake. This makes people feel very uncomfortable because it looks like a performance instead of a real-life moment. This is all very serious, even before you think about the other side of the story. There is a person who was never supposed to exist in this story. For years, the public saw only one version of what happened. We saw a royal love story. We saw 2 pregnancies. We saw the arrival of children who were shown as the new symbols of a modern royal family. Everything looked shiny, perfect, and under control. It looked like a complete picture. But behind that perfect image, there is a very different story. Another woman says she was hidden away. She says she was told to be quiet and was erased from history. This woman goes by the initials DL. According to DL's story, she was not just watching from the sidelines. She was not a helper or an assistant. She was not someone standing in the background watching things happen from far away. She claims she is the woman who actually carried the children. She says she carried both of them from the very beginning until they were born. DL says that she did not choose to be silent. She was forced to be silent. It was a rule she had to follow. For years, she stayed quiet because she signed agreements. These papers promised her privacy, but in exchange, she had to disappear. She could do no interviews. She could get no credit. She had no identity in this story. She had to live a life outside of the public eye while someone else stepped forward and pretended to be the mother. Now DL says she cannot be quiet anymore. She says the silence is impossible to keep. She claims the story the world believed was never the whole truth. DL describes a secret arrangement. It was designed so that no one would ever find out. She says she was hired by a very secret, high-level agency. This agency works far away from where normal people can see. The mission was very simple and very strict. Her job was to carry the pregnancies and follow the doctor's orders without asking any questions. Then, once the children were born, she had to leave forever. There would be no thank you in public. There would be no connection to the kids. There would be no future role in their lives. She claims she was placed under very strict rules. Her movements were watched and controlled. Her contact with the outside world was cut off completely. She could not make phone calls. She could not have visitors. She had no personal freedom that might leave a clue about where she was. Her life became a cycle of resting while being watched, going to doctor appointments, and staying silent. According to her story, this was not done to be mean. It was done for accuracy. Everything was planned perfectly to make sure of one thing: the pregnancies would happen, and no one outside of a tiny group of people would ever know how it happened. DL says she signed very detailed papers. These were legal documents. They talked about money, about keeping secrets, and about being completely erased from the story. Once the children were delivered, she was supposed to vanish as if she had never existed at all. And for a long time, she did exactly that. For years, her silence protected the royal story. But then the silence stopped working. DL now claims she has things that change this from just a story into a legal case. She says she has proof. She alleges that she has the signed agreements. She says she has medical papers and timelines of the pregnancy. She has ultrasound pictures and letters written between lawyers and the agency that managed everything. This is no longer just about what people think or guess. It is about evidence. Sources say that DL has hired her own lawyers. She's ready to tell her story in court, where she must tell the truth. She has agreed to take a DNA test. She does not want to do this privately or quietly. She wants to do it through the official legal system. That changes everything. Once the law gets involved, public relations teams cannot control the story anymore. Evidence controls the story. Dates and facts control the story. At that point, no amount of silence can stop what is coming. Behind the walls of the palace, people have noticed this change. While DL says she lived all alone, another story was happening out in public. Cameras followed Meghan Markle everywhere. She went to events and did interviews. There were carefully planned moments. There were smiles and soft lighting. There was a visible pregnancy that looked natural, happy, and perfect. The image was confident and calm. But according to DL, those two different realities were happening at the exact same time. She describes herself feeling the physical pain and tiredness of pregnancy in silence. At the same time, she watched from far away as someone else got all the attention, the praise, and the fame that usually comes with being a mother. One woman carried the physical weight of the babies. The other woman carried the public role. DL says this difference was done on purpose. To be seen in public, you need to be consistent. To keep the secret, you need obedience. DL claims she understood this was not fair, but she accepted it at the time. The deal was not about being fair. It was about the result. The children would be born, the story would stay safe, and the world would never ask how it happened. That worked until now. Because once you have two pregnancies existing in two different worlds, one hidden and one performed, you cannot avoid the big question. If one woman was never allowed to speak, what else was never allowed to come out? How long can a story built on silence last before it starts to break apart? Royal births are never supposed to be quiet. For many, many years, they have followed a very strict pattern. It is almost like a ceremony. Doctors usually come out and stand on the hospital steps. Official papers are signed and witnessed to prove the baby is real. Details are written down in big books. These rituals exist for one reason only: to remove any doubt. They are there to prove the baby is truly royal. But in this case, those steps never happened. There were no doctors standing outside the hospital. There were no photos taken right away. There were no traditional confirmations that usually happen when a child is born who might one day be king or queen. Instead, the public just got a simple announcement. It was just a press release, which is a short note sent to the news. The statement read as if several important steps had been skipped. It just said the children had arrived. That was all anyone was told. At the time they said this was because they wanted to be modern. They said they wanted privacy. But privacy and following the rules are not the same thing. You can have privacy and still follow the rules. This time, the system that exists to prove the royal baby is real simply was not there. According to sources, people were told not to ask questions behind closed doors. They were not told, "Wait a minute." They were not answered quietly. They were discouraged from asking at all. The fact that the rules were missing was not explained. It was just accepted. But when important groups that are built on keeping records allow big gaps like this, those gaps eventually make people look closer. For a while, the image held together. Public appearances continued. The story of the pregnancy moved forward as expected, but slowly, little moments began to pop up that did not look right. These moments did not match what people know as normal physical changes during pregnancy. It did not happen all at once. It was not dramatic. It was just enough to feel off. There were appearances where the pregnancy belly seemed unusually large. In other moments, it looked unusually low. There were times when Meghan moved and the belly made sharp creases or folds instead of moving softly like skin. There were times when the shape of her body looked different from one place to another. On their own, none of these moments proved anything. But patterns do not rely on just one picture. They rely on seeing the same thing happen over and over again. According to the claims coming out now, these were not natural changes. DL alleges that specially made prosthetic pregnancy bellies were used. These are fake bellies molded to look like different stages of pregnancy. They were worn to make the public image look consistent. She claims every appearance was practiced, every angle was checked, every moment was planned. The goal was not just to trick people for attention, it was to make the story look real so people would believe it. But consistency only works when nothing goes wrong, and eventually, something did go wrong. Then came the video that changed the feeling of everything. It showed a hospital room and a visibly pregnant Meghan Markle. Music was playing. She was moving in a way that was meant to suggest she was about to have the baby. The message was clear. This is real. This is happening and nothing is hidden. But instead of ending the questions, the video made them worse. To many people watching, the moment felt staged. It felt like acting, not a real moment. It felt like a performance. It was not the dancing itself that made people suspicious. It was the timing and the reason behind it. Video did not come out during the pregnancy. It came out much later, right when questions were starting to differ quietly. People who know about managing crises say this is a classic mistake. When you try to provide proof after people already doubt you, it rarely makes them feel better. It just makes them look closer. Instead of making the story feel solid, the video made the situation feel rehearsed. It looked like they were trying to demonstrate that they were real, rather than just being real. From that moment on, the conversation changed. The focus was no longer on whether the public should believe the story. The focus was on why the story suddenly needed to be proven at all. Once that shift happens, control becomes very weak. The image that once felt strong begins to crack. Stories can be argued about. Documents are harder to ignore. When the official birth records became public, something stood out immediately. Meghan Markle's legal name is Rachel Meghan Markle, but that name was missing from the documents. In its place, there was a title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. At first, people thought this was just a mistake with the paperwork. One side quietly suggested the palace handled it. The palace quietly suggested it came from Meghan's team. No one took responsibility. No one gave a clear explanation. But according to DL, this was not an accident at all. She claims the change was done on purpose. It was part of a legal plan designed to blur who was responsible and to shield the truth. Titles do not give birth, people do. When paperwork changes the focus away from a specific person and toward a title or an institution, it becomes harder to trace who is responsible. In the royal system, paperwork is everything. Names matter. Records matter. They prove who you are and where you come from. When something as basic as a mother's name is changed, it raises a question that cannot be ignored. Why change something that did not need changing? Until now, the story could still be seen as just a personal drama. That idea ends here. DL claims Prince Harry was not just watching from far away. She alleges that he knew about the arrangement. She claims he visited her during the pregnancy. She even says he wrote a handwritten letter saying thank you after the births. If this is true, it does not just get a couple in trouble. It gets the whole line of succession in trouble. The monarchy is not just a show with celebrities. It is a very important system built on bloodlines and laws. Titles, money, and power all depend on the children being legitimate. If children placed in the line of succession were born under secret circumstances, the consequences are huge. They are not just symbolic mistakes, they are structural problems. According to claims from sources, discussions are already happening inside the palace. Lawyers and experts on the rules of the country are talking. They are making quiet backup plans. They are doing this not because a decision has been made, but because the risk is too big to ignore. This is a line that cannot be crossed. Once you question the bloodline, the whole building feels the shake. Now there is only silence. There are no denials. There are no threats of lawsuits. There are no public promises from a couple who are known for always having a clear message. The fact that they are saying nothing is very striking. In a world where your image is everything, silence is rarely a sign of confidence. It is usually a sign of calculation or fear. Behind the scenes, sources claim plans are being drawn up. They are talking about how to distance themselves. They are talking about damage control. They are talking about how to protect the royal institution from a truth it never expected to face in public. At the center of all this are two children. They were born into a story they did not choose. Now they are placed right in the middle of a question that is much bigger than they are. DL says she is ready. She is ready for testing. She is ready for court. She is ready to place the truth above silence, no matter what it costs. If her claims are proven true, this will not be remembered just as an embarrassing moment. It will be remembered as an exposure. It will be the moment a carefully built story collapsed under the weight of papers, biology, and time. The royal stage is quiet now. The lights are dim. The actors have stopped speaking. But silence is not the end of a story. It is just the pause before the truth arrives.